Hi, I'm Katie, and I wanted to tell you a story about my life. I feel like God's been calling me to put my testimony online and share it with people so it can make an impact, and I pray that God would use this for his glory, and I hope that you would find something about the story that encourages you. So, this story is going to primarily be focused on when I came and met Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. So, with that in mind, I hope you guys enjoy it. Feel free to email me or post any comments or any questions that you have or you would like to talk about. Okay, here it goes. When I was so I grew up in Western Pennsylvania in the country, and when I was a young child, I went to church. I would say that most people go to church where I grew up. Most people have some kind of church affiliation. That doesn't mean they really go to church all the time. It could mean they go all the time, but in my case, it meant that we went like sometimes. Now, when I was really young, we went about every week, and I think that was because my parents thought it was important to tell me and my brother about God, but we stopped going when I was, I don't know, maybe fourth, fifth grade, and we only went around Christmas and Easter at that point. And I say this because while I knew things about God, I had known the gospel story before, I'd heard things about Jesus, I'd heard things that he'd done. I even thought that I believed in those things, and perhaps I probably did, but it was more like a child like believes in Santa Claus. It wasn't like a trust your life kind of belief that I had. Um, so I didn't really have a very strong belief in God when I was a child, and then the older I got, the more you experience life and circumstances, the more those things drag you down and test you. And I didn't really have a faith to fall back on. Um, so what I did have was I had some friends and I had a good family. So I had that, but I would still get lonely at times. I remember being in middle school and just starting to watch TV all the time and starting to read different books and just to do something because I was bored a lot and I was lonely. And then when I got to high school, I ended up going through an even tougher time just because in high school I had a really good friend, and she'd been my good friend since elementary school. Um, and she ended up going through a really hard time, and I think that ended up taking a toll on me as well, just because she went through a hard time, kind of pushed everyone away, and it really brought me down. And I didn't know how to deal with that and really have a good support system to deal with that. So I ended up just reading a lot of books, watching a lot of TV, you know, watching movies. Now you might not think, oh, that doesn't sound that bad. And on the surface, it's not. You know, a lot of people do that, and it's probably okay for some people. But for me, I was using it as a replacement for life. I was depressed, I was down, and at this point, I didn't really have many friends at all. So I was trying to experience something, I was trying to feel something through books or movies or TV. And the more stock I put into these things in my life, the more depressed I became because all of a sudden it became that once my book was over, then like everything in my life was like awful and I'd get really depressed and I'd get real angry, and then it was like I needed a replacement. I mean, I was addicted to reading, to entertainment. I was addicted to it and I was in a rough place. And so at this point in my life, I was searching for colleges. And when I was searching for colleges, I came across a school called Grove City College. Now, I was actually interested in Grove City, but I was also warned against going to Grove City. I was told that it was really hard. I was told it was really expensive. I was told that it wouldn't be a good fit for me, but at the same time I was also told that it would be a good fit for me. So I was interested, but it wasn't at the top of my list. I applied at several other schools. I wanted to go there more. And then at the last minute, I was like, oh, well, I'm not happy with the schools that I applied to, so I'm going to just apply to Grove City and see what happens. I applied to Grove City. I went up and viewed the campus, and I fell in love with it. I wanted to go there. It became my top choice almost immediately. And I ended up getting in there, and I was super excited, but I was still had people that told me I shouldn't go there. It was expensive, and it was going to be a hard school, and people warned me that maybe I didn't want that, but I felt that I should go there. Now, at this time, like I said, I wasn't really a Christian. I had some vague ideas about God, but I didn't really know him. So I ended up going to Grove City, which is a Christian school, and while I was there, I found out pretty quickly that it was a very Christian school. And I realized that I didn't really belong with these people, that I wasn't really a Christian. While I might have gone to church every now and then, that didn't make me what these people were. I mean, these people went to Bible studies, and they talked about God all the time, and they wanted to have deep conversations about their lives and things like that I just was not used to. But there was a part of me that was very fascinated by all of this and was interested in it. I remember going to a Bible study on campus that I was kind of dragged to, but I really realized that I needed God in my life. Now, I'd love to say, oh, I got saved in that moment, but I didn't. I realized I needed God, but I also had to struggle with it. I wanted God, but I didn't want the things that were hard. I didn't want to surrender myself. I wanted to be in control. I didn't want to let go of what I had. I mean, I didn't have anything good. I was depressed. I was in a dark place, but I still wanted it. It was mine, and I wanted it. And I remember almost struggling with this idea of like, oh, I know I have to surrender. And not even realizing how to surrender, I was like, well, like this sounds like a good idea and a good thing, but I'm not sure how to do it. And so I was stuck in that place for maybe about 4 or 5 months. And then I was invited to a chapel event, and this chapel event was special. There was testimonies being shared there, and these testimonies had different people sharing their stories. So this one girl shared a story of how she had gotten sick and the doctors didn't know what was wrong, and she was just in pain a lot and she couldn't really do a lot, and no one knew why. And I remember thinking that if that happened to me, I would be so lost and I wouldn't know what to do and I would be very depressed. And she said that God was the only thing that got her through that. And listening to that story, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I decided that I wanted God in my life too. And I remember it was maybe like 10 minutes after she stopped speaking that I asked God into my heart. And it was very amazing. I don't know how to describe it, as I felt new, I felt different, I felt like everything was bright, I felt like everything was clear in a way that it had never been. I could see things, I could feel things, I was more open. I ended up going home after that night and was like talking to my roommates, I was like crying, I was opening up to people, something I would have never done before. And it was the start of my journey with God. That night it was the start of my journey, and I've gone through a lot of things, and God has gotten me through them. They haven't been easy. I could share a lot more about other things that have happened to me in life, but I do want to say that sometimes you got to get to the place where you know God, and then once you know God, He can work and move and change things in your life and in your heart that you did not think possible. But to get to that point, you have to accept Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior. Now, as something to say, I got through many different struggles with God in my life. It doesn't mean my life got easier after following God. My life actually did not get easier after following God. Following God brings new challenges and struggles into your life, but it's just so rewarding and it's so worth it because you get to know God. And you may not understand that, but it is amazing. And I would not have been able to get through my father passing away or a difficult breakup that I recently had without God in my life. So if you want to receive Jesus into your heart, you can do it. You can do it right now. You can call up a friend if you want to and talk about it. Somebody that you know that knows about God and knows about things of the Bible. Or you could just say a prayer right now and ask Jesus into your heart. Um, but I thank you for listening, and I hope that you will listen again. Thanks. Bye.